Welcome to Ex Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of Ex Machina. This was the show we had to postpone from last week, so hopefully all of our internets will hold out so we can stay on the air for this one. Keep our fingers crossed. Unfortunately, Doc won't be with us tonight. He's filling orders at Dark Angel, and Steve, of course, has to work on Wednesdays, usually only gets to join us on Saturdays. So you just got to put up with me and Robbie tonight. Me and Robbie Rip Rains are going to be in the house. Robbie, how you doing, Bubba?
I'm doing good. How you?
Oh, alive and kicking so far, but it's early.
Ain't that the truth? Well, early for you, a little bit later for me, but yeah,
A little bit.
Who's counting?
So how you been, man? Doing all right?
Yeah, finally getting caught back up from being in Alabama last week. That was,
How'd that go?
oh Lord have mercy, that was a class. Son, I got the tar beat out of me literally every day I was down there. It was a eye-opening experience. I went down there thinking it was one thing, and it turned out to be a completely different class. We learned how to extricate, not cut, extricate protesters out of their devices that they lock themselves into. So I ran a 60-pound jackhammer and 40-pound K12 chop saw and the smaller K9 chop saw and hammer drills and angle grinders and hauled concrete, busted through concrete, cut through steel, cut through PVC. It was an experience. Experience,
Sounds like
I would say.
I've always been a firm believer that they'll extricate themselves with the proper application of pepper spray.
Well, see, yeah, I agree there too. But if they're passively,
But I can say that now since I'm out of the business.
Yes, Taylor. I also had an eventful weekend too, dear. Thank you. But you're okay. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm glad she's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was the chances of using a class like that around here are probably slim to none.
Not necessarily. If you have another distinguished 45 visitor to town, you could very well have him. I'm surprised you didn't when he was in town.
That's true. But the thing is, and I talked to the fire chief when I got back, and I went over the class and what we did, and I said, is there anybody else here in upstate that's trained to do that? And he's like, nope. I think I'm looking at the only one. I said, and we looked over the equipment and everything that I use. He said, yeah, I've got every bit of that on my truck. I said, Chief, why don't you think about sending a couple of your firemen down there and let's put a team together? He was like, that's a pretty good idea. So he's like, is the class free? I said, yeah, it's put on by the federal government. It's, Center for Domestic Preparedness, which is Department of Homeland Defense. I said, they pay for everything, room, board, food, everything. You just got to get them down there. So we may be trying to start us a extrication team. They used to call them cut teams. Cool. You can't call them cut teams anymore because lawyers are like, oh, so you wanted to cut my client. No, we're going to extricate the arrestee from the area that they've been put on trespass notice from and refuse to leave.
That the world we live in now makes me very happy. I don't have to deal with the political ramifications of carrying a badge anymore. My hat's off to you, brother. I don't think I could do it. I came in very close a number of times in my career to my mouth getting me in a position where I couldn't get out of because I didn't sugarcoat things.
Funny you should mention the pepper spray application of getting somebody out of one of those devices, because they showed us a video, and I want to say it was in Oregon somewhere. I can't, or somewhere. All these little girls decided they were going to go in and protest inside this office complex where these people were either logging or oil pipeline. So I can't remember what it was. So there's like 4 of them, and they all got their arms in what we call the dragons, the sleeping dragons, which is PVC pipes or steel pipes or whatever. So they're all, each one of them's got an arm and a pipe, and then the other ones, and what they'll do is they'll take a little cheap dog chain or something, put it around their wrist, put a little cheap carabiner in there, and there's a carriage bolt in the center of the pipe. So they'll lock them. They can self-extricate anytime they want. It's just them. So they're all sitting there and they're doing their little kumbaya and they're rocking back and forth, and their people are outside screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering. And the officer comes in and says, "All right, he said, they don't want you here. You're on trespass notice. This is your last chance to self-extricate yourselves and leave property." "No, we're not going nowhere." And they had scattered like wood chips all over the floor, nice carpet. And I think they were in steel pipes, because he said, if we had to bring the angle grinder in here, it's going to shoot sparks. There's a chance we're going to catch this place on fire. He said, "You don't want that." He said, "Just self-extricate yourself." And they were like, "No, we're not leaving." So, okay. They bring in a Dixie cup, spray some pepper spray in it, and they're like, "All right, last warning. If you don't go, you're going to get sprayed." Still didn't go. So they took a Q-tip, wiped it around in the bottom of that cup, and the first girl kind of moved a little bit, so they just kind of like underneath her eye. But the second girl, they kind of learned. So the sergeant grabs her head, pulls it back, and they pull her eyeball open and put the Q-tip directly in her eye. Yeah, she commenced a caterwauling at that point. The next girl, funny enough, she self-extricated. She's like, "Okay, I'm done." She let go pretty quick after she saw that second reaction.
Yeah, that OC ain't no joke. I'd have to show my OC video sometime. I've got my OC and taser video. I couldn't show them on the air before when I was still with the department, but I'm not with the department anymore, so it doesn't freaking matter.
You can do them now.
I might have to show those at some point. But I could sit and talk OC stories and old swap cop stories and the old glory days, I guess you could call it. I could swap stories like that all night, but that's not why we're here.
Nope.
We're here to talk about the Piri Reis Map in Antarctica.
Something much more interesting.
Yeah, much more interesting. Although I think Robbie and I would probably be laughing our butts off swapping stories, which we did quite a bit when you were here.
Yeah.
I think the people at Dublin's Pass thought we were nuts.
Yeah, probably, but they're probably right too. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, very true. But funny thing about the Piri Reis Map, it was dated to the late 1400s, early 1500s by a Turkish admiral named Piri Reis. The actual fragment of the map they still have is on display in a museum in Turkey. But they believe it's only about a third of the actual map. And they also believe that map was a copy of a far older map, which only makes sense because the Piri Reis Map, as we've discovered, is a map of Antarctica without ice on it. And since modern man has known about Antarctica, it's been covered in ice. We've never known a time in modern history where Antarctica was not covered with ice. So this map may be from a prior civilization, and that's kind of what I'm leaning for. What do you think, Robbie?
I got I guess it's sort of the same opinion, but it's just a little bit skewed. Maybe people would call it what. I guess this is my woo theory. If I've got to have something in the woo camp, because I think that I think there could be a lot of stuff underneath that ice that we don't know about. I think there could be still living things under that ice that we don't know about. I think there could be dinosaur type things underneath that ice that we don't know about. And
we do know they've discovered fossils down there of dinosaurs that exist nowhere else. Cryolophosaurus was discovered in Antarctica.
Well, that's where I was going with that. That book that you and I discussed, the Last Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what really got me when I read that book. That's what really got me interested in Antarctica, because it really delves into that. And obviously it's a fiction book, but there's a lot of stuff on there or in that book that just really makes a lot of sense. People don't even realize how big. I mean, Antarctica itself is huge, but what's underneath could be even more massive. And there's just the way he wrote it is like talking about the massive underground caverns that were under there. That was just basically like cities and roadways, and you had, and they were all interconnected, but it wasn't like they were just. It kind of goes back to our hollow Earth type theory. Is like he went under in Antarctica, but there were it led to other areas that were not under Antarctica, and then when it thawed in the book, it actually caused a shift in the tectonic plates, and Antarctica shifted down towards the equator because of all the thawing, because it was basically the freezing had froze Antarctica in place where it was at, but that's not where it was supposed to be. Now, some of that may be a little fanciful, but the sheer size of the place and the fact that it could have been a tropical jungle at one time, it's fascinating when you start really delving into. And there's some kind of mystery up there because.
Yeah, I mean, why else would there be a treaty signed by pretty much all the governments of the world not to allow anybody to go down there to explore?
Yeah, because there's something that they don't want us to find down there.
I agree. Yeah, and well, you look about what was it? I can't remember the name of the operation. Was it Operation Overlord? No, I don't think that was it. It was the Admiral Byrd mission to Antarctica.
Oh, I don't remember what the name of it is, but I do remember
High Jump, Operation High Jump.
Yeah, they make mention of that in that book. I don't think they say the name of the operation, but yeah.
Well, he mentions finding a massive opening to what he called the Hollow Earth. And again, we've talked about the Hollow Earth theory a few times. I don't really think that the entire Earth is hollow like an egg, but I think there are massive interconnected underground caverns. I mean, the mantle, the part of the Earth's crust that is near the surface is thousands of miles thick. I mean, there could be massive caverns in there and not even really disrupted.
That part itself could be hollow and have interconnect, and it and still the Earth be like what we think it is in the center.
Right.
I mean, so, and I think a lot of what, and to bring some movie quotes in, the way the MonsterVerse is talking about the Hollow Earth theory with that's how all these kaiju appear, where in places like when something happens over here, how does this is because of all that kind of stuff.
Miss Naoma's got a good point. She says perhaps honeycombed Earth would be a better description.
Exactly what I was getting to. That all that area that you're talking about that's thousands of miles thick, that could be honeycombed with caves and passageways and things like that. And we would, if it's thousands of miles thick, those things could be hundreds of miles tall, and it'd be a drop in the bucket to something that's 1,000 miles thick.
Yeah,
but still be just massive. I mean, think about standing on the floor of a cavern and the roof of the cavern is 100 miles above your head. How big would that appear to a human?
That'd be a massive cavern. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to see the top.
Yeah,
unless the top was covered. Hey, River Boys just joined the channel. Hey, thanks and welcome, man. Appreciate you. But if the cavern roof was 100 miles above you, and unless there was like what's the word I'm looking for? Bioluminescence coating the roof of the cavern, you probably wouldn't even be able to see it.
And even if it's coating the roof of the cavern at 100 miles, you might just barely be able to see it, because
it might just look like a sky to you.
100 miles straight up, that's a long way. But
that is a long way.
But 100 miles is a drop in the bucket compared to 1,000 miles.
Yeah, sure is.
So the point we're making here is, it could be quote unquote hollow Earth or honeycombed Earth, whatever you want to say, but it could all be within the mantle.
And I think like Miss Naoma is, like she referred to as honeycombed Earth. I think that's the very, very much the case. I mean, look how far they believe that the Mammoth Cave network extends
Yeah.
now. I mean, they're talking Maine all the way down to New Mexico and maybe even farther. So if these caverns go deeper than we're capable of going, because like we've discussed about people doing cave expeditions, it is extremely difficult to go very far into a cave network because you've got to basically carry in all the supplies you're going to take. You can't have them airdropped in. You can't have them brought in by boat. You've got to set up base camps and then go out from there and then supply that next camp and go out from there. So it's very difficult to explore really deep. Not only that, you start running into breathability issues when you get a certain depth.
But the further you get, the bigger your pack-ins have to be too.
Right.
Because you can't carry this. If you go in 10 miles, you can't carry the same amount of food and supplies in 10 miles that you're going to need 40 miles in. Because you're going to have to take supplies to go from mile 10 to mile 40, but you also need supplies to go from mile 1 to mile 10, then from mile 10 to mile 40. So your supplies are going to constantly be getting bigger and bigger the further down you go, unless you've got just constant teams, like a hive of ants, basically, that they're constantly just resupplying all these drops as another team is kind of working its way back and forth between them.
You would have to have supply teams. That's all they did was ferry in supplies to keep establishing base camps for the exploration team to keep going farther and farther. So there would have to be a constant supply train going back and forth.
Yeah, it'd just be like ants filling their colony before the winter or whatever. It would just be a constant stream of people walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and the exploration team that's out in front, it's going to constantly have to be going back and forth between the base that just left and the base that just established, then go and establish another base and coming back to that base, resupplying.
Right.
That you'd
end up having a network of supply drops.
Yeah, think about all the time and manpower.
Like Glenn Dannison says, it would be a logistical nightmare.
Yeah,
and that's just to go a few miles in. Imagine, trying to go hundreds of miles. You would have to have dozens of these camps. Kay Bowers says that DA, every time y'all talk about underground stuff, I can't help but think of the Cave movie. That's a great example. I mean, that cave network that they explored wasn't even that huge, but it still took them miles back and even had to go through water. So that's a great example of what a spelunking team would have to go through. There might be times when they have to, swim to another cave, or they might have to find alternative routes because there's not big enough for people to get through. But these cave networks are down there, and we've known about them for years. We just have no idea of knowing how deep they are.
We use the term rabbit hole all the time, but I mean, that's literally the definition of going down a rabbit hole and not knowing where you're going to come out.
I'm going to send a link to Miss Naoma. I think she's going to pop in and join us. Give me just a second. So Miss Naoma is going to be in the house here shortly. She's getting set up her camera and mic. Andy Cunningham says it could also be a case of getting further into the earth, environmental changes where mushrooms, fungi, and algae would grow. Exactly, and we don't know what effect those would have on us. And it kind of plays into our theory that both Dogman and Bigfoot are subterranean, and they only come up either to hunt or to travel to areas where they can't get to by cave. And it would explain why we can't find their dead. One of the theories we've put forth on here on this show is that part of what we call wood knocking is actually tongue clicking and is used for echolocation. I think that makes a great deal of sense.
Yep.
I mean, could it be an explanation? I think it could explain part of it. I'm not saying we're not putting that out there as 100% explanation for all wood knocks, but I think it would explain part of it, at least give us a much greater understanding of what it could be. Kay Bauer says that reminds me of the joke. What did the girl mushroom say to the boy mushroom? I don't know. Judy Davis says, I'm glad that I've already taken a few tours in Mammoth Cave and be afraid to go now. I love going down into caves, but my condition anymore, I can't hike like I used to. Hopefully, oh, she says you're a fun guy. That's funny. But yeah, God knows how far these networks go. They may even connect beyond continents. I mean, if they go deep, and we know that the deepest part of the ocean is only what is like 5 miles. That the deepest part of the ocean is somewhere in that ballpark.
Something like that. I mean,
That's
you can hide the tallest monuments built on the earth in them.
yeah. It's even deeper than the top of that big mountain in Tibet.
Himalayas.
Himalayas. It's even taller, deeper than the height of the Himalayas. However, if you look at the mantle being the crust being hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles thick, that's just a scratch in the surface. I mean, it's literally like just taking your fingernail and digging into it.
It's just there's just so much that we don't know, but there's also so many questions that not knowing makes you ask. And I don't think it would be as intriguing if all those governments hadn't signed those treaties. That nobody controls Antarctica, but they sure as heck
Yeah.
are protecting something up there.
I totally agree. Andy Cunningham says, I've heard these click sounds recently. At first, I thought it was two rocks being banged together quickly. I can't recreate it on the show because the filter that is set up on my microphone to keep out background noise, for some reason blocks it out. But Robbie can attest to how loud I can pop my tongue in person. Hey, there's Miss Neoma. And we were down at Table Rock Lake, and I was doing it, and you could hear it echoing on the other side of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Miss Naomi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm better than I was for a long time.
How you feeling?
I am feeling a lot better. I'm managing to stay up for 12 and 14 hours at a time.
Well, we've been praying for you.
Well, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Anyway, I thought it'd be a good idea to show my face so that people would know I'm not dead.
Well, sometimes, proof of life is a good thing.
You want my finger?
It stops the knocks on the door from the local sheriff's department and checking to see if you're still alive. What's that smell coming from the house? I just didn't wash the dishes. Leave me alone.
My husband's been up in Illinois for 3 months. I just haven't taken a bath.
No need to, right?
I've been living on chili for 2 weeks. Go away.
Oh, no. I'm getting harassed by my son. Yeah, well, Martha, I've been sick, and you haven't called Mommy once. Did it work?
Ball's in your court, buddy. So, you are familiar with the Piri Reis Map, though.
I am familiar with it. It was, I think it was originally made around 1513. It was rediscovered sometime in the 20s or 30s, I think.
Something like that. It was I believe it was found in Egypt.
Yeah, but it's in the how do you say that? Topkapi or Topkapi, whatever it is, palace now, right? The museum there.
That's one of the funny thing about that is they really weren't sure what that map was until the early 70s when the U.S. Navy was doing sonar soundings through the ice of Antarctica. And they're like, holy crap, I think we know what this shoreline is.
That's funny. Yeah, but honestly, I know that there's controversy about whether or not that is Antarctica down there. And that's the extent that I know. I really don't have, I wish I knew more about it. I do think, though, that a honeycombed earth is a really good way to describe. I mean, not that I'm patting myself on the back, but a better way to describe. Yeah, I don't think we have an egg. I think we just have a really good piece of what is that stuff called? Honey candy, you know, that has the.
I think the term hollow earth. I don't think anybody who seriously believes. I don't think they believe that there's nothing because there's no physical way the Earth could survive if it didn't have. And we couldn't survive
some kind of infrastructure to hold it up.
I think when people say hollow earth, they're really meaning what you're talking about, Naoma. They're meaning that there's hollow spaces like a honeycomb, and it just hollow earth is easier to say than honeycombed earth. I think is basically what it boils down to. What you're saying is what it is, but people have just shortened it to it's hollow earth because all these tunnels and interconnected passageways and things like that. I think it's just a combination of both, but I think you're right on the money about how it actually is. If you would actually dissect it and look at it, it would look more like a honeycomb.
Yeah. By the way, my husband says hello. I sent him a quick text to let him know not to call me tonight because I'd be on the show, and he says to say hello. And DA, he's been thinking about you a lot and hoping you're doing better too.
Getting there. I've got another appointment with my cardiologist this coming Wednesday. We're going to talk about why that fluid keeps coming back. I've been experiencing a lot more shortness of breath than I care to, and it's because that fluid's building back up around my lungs and around my heart, and they still don't know what's causing it.
Have they put you on Lasix or anything like that?
That's some of the things we're going to discuss. I've been taking some, and then they reduced it, and that may be part of why it's coming back. But I'll know more in a week when I talk to my cardiologist. But I know something's got to change because I've been pretty stressed out and pretty worried here lately.
Yeah, I understand that. I have I take Lasix, so I totally understand how you feel. Anyway.
Dr. 45120 Sharp Rothstein says, has anybody heard that there could be more water trapped beneath the crust than in the oceans? I've actually heard that theory. There's a lot of geologists that are talking about that, what they call sub-oceans, which exist at a much deeper level than the oceans. They're not sure what's down there, but they do know that there is likely to be water deposits that are far deeper than we've ever imagined.
I still find it fascinating that we've never spent more than, 20 minutes deep within the Marianas Trench.
Yeah.
And that's not even going below the crust.
Well, we're not all Jason Statham.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the first Meg movie, but the second one was just so freaking cheesy. The first one was had some cheese to it, but the second one was just over the top, almost Three Stooges level cheesy.
The first one knew what it was, and knew that it was not going to compete with Jaws. It was not going to take Jaws' place. It was just a fun movie. The second one was actually trying to. I mean, they went everywhere they could go in the first one. So where do you go from there? Where they went.
Right.
To the cutting room floor? My suggestion, I'm just saying.
Well, that's the same suggestion that they gave and should have listened to with Jaws 2 through 4. There was no
I didn't mind Jaws 2. It was the others that were so utterly offensive to me.
Think about Naoma. Jaws 2 was basically Jaws again. It was it was almost a shot for shot remake with just a few different characters, and that's why
Jaws Jr.
Yeah. I mean, it literally there are so because I just watched a video about it 2 days ago, the comparison between the two, and there was like 12 shots that they lined up on the video side by side from 1 and 2 that were identical shots.
Yeah.
Glenn Dennison had a good question. He was talking about the deep water. He said, fresh or salt, nobody knows, just curious. As far as I know, we've never been able to reach it. It's just a theory right now. The geologists believe it's down there, but as far as that, we've got no proof. And someone mentioned something earlier about some of the deep well oil rig technology. Some of the stuff that they've brought to the surface from these deep wells does look like circuit boards. They've brought a number of items that looked like electronics.
I remember reading once a long, long time ago, it's a little off topic, but not quite, that somebody actually unearthed somewhere in I think, the Mojave Desert, a piece, what wound up being a computer chip, but it was buried in the rock so deep that it had to have been placed there over 1,000 years ago. Do you remember hearing anything about that?
But I can't remember the source.
Yeah, I can't
remember
either.
Hearing about that.
Sorry, I'm reading questions.
Yeah, I was trying to keep up on questions. Eliva Wolf says, question, have y'all read the 5 Meg books? Meg 1 and 2 were supposed to be based off the books. I think I've read the first 3. I don't think I've read all of them. K Powers says, Robbie, the original Jaws made me look twice in the bathtub.
It affected a lot of people that way.
I can remember the scene in Jaws where Matt Hooper goes down to dig that tooth out of Ben Gardner's boat. And he gets the tooth and he bangs the side of the boat and the head falls down into the hole. That was the moment when I said, I want to be a marine biologist. And
that scene was filmed in Steven Spielberg's pool after editing.
And for about the next 10 years, it was all about sharks for me.
Miss Lene had a good question. Says, do y'all think that some of the so-called sea monsters travel between the surface and the lower waters? Well, since we know we've explored less than 10% of the oceans, we don't know if there are connecting caves. There could be.
And there's been speculation that some there's things that connect, like Loch Ness, to the ocean in deep water trenches or deep subterranean canals or caverns. So they think that's why there's not as many sightings of the Loch Ness monster as there should be, since they've sounded that whole lake.
And I was thinking of blue holes in Luscas. They come up from deep to the surface.
They don't know how deep those blue holes are either.
Right. And the other thing that's interesting is that all of the Loch Ness Monster and Champ and all of them tend to be on the same, which just goes east to west, latitude or longitude. I can never remember.
Longitude goes this way and latitude.
Yeah, latitude.
Okay, so they're all on the same latitudinal line.
Very similar levels of climate. Because I think Loch Ness and Champ are really, I think they're on the same parallel. And the water temperatures are very similar.
Yeah.
There's another one, but this one is on a similar parallel, but it's not the same parallel. It's in South America. It's Lake Nahuelhuapi, where I set one of my books. The Nahuelito, I believe is what they call it, is a very much like the Loch Ness Monster, and there's been sightings on that lake. It's an old glacial fed lake, thousands of years old, and there's been sightings on that from the Native Americans in that area for hundreds of years.
I was also thinking about Whitey, but Whitey isn't really. Whitey's just, I think, a big fish in the White River in Arkansas.
Well, haven't they said that could be like a sturgeon or something like that too?
Yeah, big fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Noah posted. He posted it on the main account, but he said he didn't mean to post it. Latitude is north-south, longitude is east-west. So I had them backwards. I'm screwed up.
I never know. I'll forget in 5 minutes, and I'll say it wrong again anyway. So
that's what Noah's for. He's quality control.
Okay. Well, we're good then.
Understand what we mean, not what we say.
Read my mind, not my lips.
Sonia Morgan says, "Where are you guys from?" I live in South Carolina. Robbie's from South Crackalacky.
I'm here in Tennessee, but I'm originally from Illinois. I'm an Illinoisans.
I'm in Missouri. It's not Missouri, it's Missouri.
You know, I lived in Missouri once, and when I was getting ready to move down there, I called it Missouri. And by the time I got back to Illinois, I was saying Missouri. But I got to be honest with you, DA, the whole time I was there, it was just plain misery.
Depends on what part of the state you're in.
I was down around, Mountain View. You know where that's at?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I lived.
That's a pretty rural area, but it's a pretty area too. I mean, there's a lot of pretty places to camp and fish down there.
I lived out in the middle of nowhere.
See, that's where I want to live. It's convincing the wife to move that way. I want to live where my nearest neighbor is measured in miles, not feet.
It's my idea.
Sonia Morgan says, "I think Robbie and I went to school together. I know he did with my husband."
I went to Pickens, so.
Poncho Zort says, "All hell no, my family would disown you. It's Missouri." I totally disagree, man. I have never called it Missouri. I think I missed a couple questions. Miss Naomi, are you all right? You cold?
Not now. I got a blanket on.
She has taken care of that issue.
I was.
Well, I had intended to get a copy of the Piri Reis Map, which I did. I ordered it. It took it a while to get here, and I was really surprised by the size of the thing. I was going to try to hang it on my green screen and just move out of the way and point at it. But apparently I didn't really pay attention to the size of the map. I wanted a good quality, high quality scan of the map. So I didn't really pay attention to the size. So the one I'll just show you the picture. I'll bring this up. And if you notice the swaths of color at the top and the bottom of the image, that's the area rug in my living room. It's as big as the area rug in my living room. So yeah, I got a really high res copy, but holy crap. It was far bigger than I anticipated it to be.
How cool would that be to hang on the wall, though?
Oh, I'd have to take up the whole wall. I mean,
okay.
It's like 6 feet by 5 feet. I'm not kidding. It is a massive map. I'm like, yeah, screw it. Order the biggest one they got. But fortunately, my son Nick, who has a very good camera on his phone, was able to take some images for me. And I'm gonna go to other areas of that map and bring up some things that some things that are just a little tough to explain. Let me find the.
Hey, I'm gonna go grab my hippie shake. I'll be right back.
Okay. Like, for example, this one. These are animals we don't have.
At least not anymore that we know of.
I mean, I've never seen these animals. Obviously, this one here is some sort of deer. But look at the antlers. And this one looks like it might be some type of cow, but one horn in the front that curls. And I don't know, this might be some sort of prairie dog. But these look like ships that we had, wooden sailing ships. But this map is old. So, where did they find these?
What's curious to me is what your cursor's on right there. What is that thing?
Yeah.
It looks like an otter man.
That's kind of. This isn't even the weirdest stuff.
Oh, I know. But isn't there a certain area in the United States that has something called an otter man?
Yep, that's up in Alaska. Lori Barnes says, look at the deer's teeth. Yeah? The deer looks like it's got fangs.
Yeah. Or what that looks more like is like when a wild boar's tusks turn out in cutters. That's what it looks like.
This is really, really bizarre stuff. Let me pull up another one. And let's see. There's one in particular I really wanted to show. I've got a bunch of these pictures. Okay, yeah. This is the one that I really wanted to show. Check this out, folks. What does that look like?
Looks like a dog and a monkey dancing on two legs.
Yep. Nathan Finn says it looks like a tufted deer from Vietnam. It does kind of, except for the antlers. The antlers are very different.
But that looks like some kind of old hound dog's head
Mm-hmm.
on a bipedal body dancing with some kind of ape.
And the writing on the map looks like some form of Arabic. Not that I'm a linguistics expert, but that's what it looks like to me. And another one. Bring this one up. Look at these animals. Well, that one looks like an ostrich. This may be some sort of elephant. It looks like a short-trunked elephant. This is depicting cities.
Yep.
So this map is not only showing Antarctica, it's showing cities. So was there a civilization there? What are we dealing with here?
I mean, like I said in the beginning of this, I think there's a lot underneath that ice that some people don't want us to
simply
find.
not telling us. Well, this one's kind of interesting. It just kind of one of those, makes you wonder what they're talking about. This depicts a ship, and these are obviously two guys, but is that a giant fish, or,
Well, I mean, they're sitting on his back.
Yeah. So what is that? It looks like some kind of fish. Of course, there's the ship. I would love to hear, like, the real stories behind these maps. What, from the perspective of the guy who created the map. I'll bring up the full size map again. I mean, we've got ships all over this map. And of course, all the margins are filled with writing, which again looks like some form of Arabic.
I'd really love to know what all that says.
I would too. What? You okay? You all right, Miss Naoma?
Sorry.
I thought Robbie was laughing for a minute. You okay?
Yeah, I'll mute myself.
what are these round points? Are these navigation points?
Roll it closer on those again. I didn't even pay attention to those the first time you rolled in.
As opposed to latitudinal and longitudinal lines, those have rows, but I think they're called rows navigation, which indicates the best trade winds, as opposed to so that particular map is designed more for navigation than for I'm sorry, I just ran out of breath.
You're all right. I totally understand.
Anyway, that's what those are. See, I know a little bit.
Well, there's so many things on this map that I just find so incredibly intriguing, and I think probably the really most bizarre part is not just the creatures that look like they could be an otter man or a dog man.
Well, what is that thing to the left of the otter man?
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a normal human being.
That certainly is not.
I mean, his arms are out, growing out the top of his head.
I thought that was a baboon for some reason.
Like its whole face is on its abdomen. But where's it at? Fine. Oh yeah, it was up here. The indications of what looked like cities. Or at least castles.
And they said Mapinguari, but
maybe.
You know, I have heard, I can't remember where I heard, but I heard somewhere that when they were talking about the Mapinguari, instead of characterizing it as a Bigfoot type creature, it was more like a spiritual type thing. And something said something about having its mouth where its stomach was supposed to be.
That's bizarre. Because when we had MK on the other night, he was talking about the Mapinguari being possibly a ground sloth.
Yeah. But this was something where they were getting into like the legend surrounding it and some of the native lore about it, saying that his mouth was where its abdomen was supposed to be. That was in taking it from the supernatural standpoint.
Well, that would certainly match up with that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, especially these animals we've never heard of. Of course, a lot of these birds out here look like possibly parrots or macaws. I mean, this one here definitely looks like a parrot. Mm-hmm. So if these are parrots, then this area had to be tropical. Parrots are not cold climate birds.
Nope.
And this one looks like a toucan. Again, not a cold climate bird.
Well, remember what I said about that book? They said that one time Antarctica was a lush tropical environment.
Now, the only thing that would make sense.
I'm sure that author got a lot of his information off of stuff like this. So, but it.
What was go down again? Okay, now go over that. What is that right there? The is that?
Here?
Yep, that. What is that?
It looks like a dog man and a monkey dancing.
I'll be darned. And they said they don't
dancing
get along.
Or fighting. Dancing or fighting, one of the two.
It looks like they're doing a two-step.
No, I think that's a foxtrot.
Charleston.
Could be.
Could be the monkey.
It's fascinating.
The more I look at this map, the more I'm intrigued by it.
Do you have any English translations for any of the Islamic writing on that?
I have not found any. I will keep digging.
Be interested in what some of it says.
But the funny thing is this map raises more questions than it answers.
Well, that's the thing that you learn.
I wonder what dialect that's actually written in.
Well, it's a Turkish. It was created by a Turkish admiral, so I'm going to guess it's probably Turkish or some form of Turkish Arabic
Or Aramaic. Well, it'd probably be Arabic. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I can't read it.
Muffin. Somebody said, "What is NAC or MNEC?"
I'm not sure.
They said it helped me breathe. I don't know what they're talking about. I only start inhaling or wheezing like that when I move around.
Born to Run says Bimini Road is on this map. I don't think it is, because I don't think it extends that far. I think this is mostly just the coast of Antarctica.
Bimini Road's that thing they found the underwater.
Off the coast of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
You know, one of the first, well, I guess it was the first video that I did with Cam Buckner on my channel was, I'd like to pull the book out, and I'm going to have to move, so it's going to look like I'm having an earthquake. But it was, oh, for the love of Pete. I can't think of the guy's name, but it's an interesting book. He went to South Africa or South America. He did all kinds of exploring down there, and he, you know, the famous picture of the cryptid sitting on the trunk in South America. He found that
one being propped up by a stick.
He wasn't the one who took the picture, but I believe that his crew brought that picture back. The picture was actually taken decades earlier by a missionary, I think, but I can't think of his name. Anyway, he's the same guy who discovered the Bimini Road, which I thought was really interesting because his book is fascinating. Pino Turola, that's his name.
Okay. I'll have to see if I can find that book. I'd like to read that.
Yeah, it's just, you'll have to find it used. I found a used copy of it. It is fascinating. He found a series of caves, and they were attacked by what they believe is the South American,
Map and Quarry?
No, it's something grande. The Mono Grande, I think is what it's called. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll look it up.
Glenn Dannison says, I think it's just Turkish.
It's the Mono Grande, which means large monkey.
Roxanne's got a good point. That did look like a Billy Ape, sort of. That was dancing with the dog man.
That's kind of. Only Billy Ape doesn't have a tail.
Maybe at that time they did.
Maybe they did. Glenn Dennison says Percy Fawcett? Question. 3D Havoc says that Mono Grande sounds like a Mexican dish he'd like to eat.
Well, it means big monkey. So if you're into monkey, have at it.
Omadit says if it's Turkish, I could read it. Send me an email and I'll try to send you some high-res images. I'll try to get close-up images of the writing if I can. We'll have to lay the map out and take some close-up photos, but send me an email at daroberts@daroberts.net to remind me, because I will forget when the show goes off. And I'll try to get some high-res pictures taken and send you of the writing and see if you can translate some of it.
I'm going to make it look like I'm having an earthquake again.
Germanic Werewolf says the thing with the face on its stomach is probably a gorgon/demon. There's old paintings from the Dark Ages of demons with human faces on their stomach, which I think is supposed to represent the
go down the next.
Gorgon demon conquering the human, and they wear it as a war trophy. Also, the Greek goddess Athena wears the face of a Gorgon on her armor, and Medusa a Gorgon on her shield. Gorgons she conquered. That's a good point. Could be. But it didn't look like it had a head other than that. It looked like its face was literally the chest. So Could be. Again, we don't have enough information to go on. But it is very freaking bizarre.
One theory is just as good as the other right now.
Absolutely. Right at the moment, all anybody's got's theory.
You're muted now.
We can't hear you. You're muted.
That's the book you want to get. And that's the guy right there that discovered the Bimini Road. Modern day.
I'll have you text me the title or just a picture of it because I will never remember that.
You could really do a whole show on this guy. Fascinating. He found all kinds of cool things. And of course, this is the famous photograph that I think that photograph is what sent him to South America looking for that. And I know that this is totally, I'm sorry. I walked down
This is the great stuff. We love going down these rabbit holes.
And anyway, he did he found caves full of treasures. He and his guide were attacked by what they think was the Momo Grande and Mono Grande, Momo, whatever. Anyway, and I think his guide's son was killed by one, and just really, the whole book is fascinating, and some of it delves into that kind of stuff, and some of it is just, he really was a modern day Indiana Jones.
Sounds like an interesting guy. I definitely want to read that book now.
Yeah, I'll send the info to you.
Okay. Northwood says he'll have to catch the rest of the show after he gets to work. Have a good night, everyone. Hey, Northwood, you be safe, man. E.D. Testament says there's a type of cryptid that's called no heads, and that's what it looks like.
It definitely looks like no heads.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have a head. Very weird looking. Hey, Eric, if you've got information on those no heads, send it to me. I'd like to read about it. I'm always looking for new weird stuff. Sorry, I'm eating jelly beans.
No, it's called the Mono Grande.
I went to Sam's yesterday and got a great big ass thing of Jelly Bellies. So I just keep them on my desk.
You have the popcorn flavored ones. Those are my favorites.
This got like 15 or 16 different flavors.
Popcorn flavored jelly beans?
Mm-hmm. They may not make them anymore.
Candy, a birthday cake, bubble gum. I think bubble gum's the one I got in my mouth right now.
Wouldn't it be easier just get popcorn?
Not the same.
Yeah, that's my point. Sorry, I didn't mean to break you.
You broke Miss Naoma. So,
sorry,
bring the big map back up again.
Sorry, what?
Now, granted, again, what we have to bear in mind is what we have here is a fragment. They believe it is only about a third of the actual full map. So if this is a map of Antarctica, it's just bits of coastline. And if there was a hole that led into the Hollow Earth, as Admiral Byrd said, where would it have been?
Well, roll up towards that part again where you were said it looked like cities.
Up here?
Yeah. Now, yeah, look at the edge of that.
Right there?
There's pictures that are missing. You can see like half of. So I would agree that that's probably not a complete map. So it goes inland, I would assume.
Well, they suspect that this is only about a third of the map.
Yeah, because if you look at that castle, whatever, look at right there where your cursor is over Buddha or whoever he is, right there holding his little sword.
It's gonna look like a Buddha.
Yeah, if you look right up at the tip of his sword, right there, look at that little castle right above that. It looks like it's missing the top half of it, and then So I would assume there's more on past that goes, quote unquote, inland.
This is
Yeah.
more than just trade routes. From the amount of castles and settlements that they're showing on here, there had to have been a civilization on Antarctica. Had to have been. And the Turks must have been trading with them.
Yeah, I think it is trade routes, but I think it's way more than just trade routes. I think it's trade routes. I think it's what to look out for, what things to look out for, where to go.
Yes, this looks like a wall.
Looks like a sea monster drawn inside that wall. No, I guess it's just.
But that, I don't know. That doesn't look natural. That looks like they're depicting something like a line of fortifications or something.
And somebody's butt print. Somebody sat down on that map.
You think Rosie O'Donnell fell on the shores of Antarctica?
Do you guys remember the John Deere lady who made national news for taking a Xerox copy of her butt?
Hold up.
I don't remember that one.
Right there. Roll that up just a little bit, DA.
What do you got?
The other way. Keep going. Stop.
That's an animal that's faded out.
Yeah.
But from the tail, it almost looks like a wolf. And this kind of looks like a scorpion. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Maybe like what was that creature that had the tail of a scorpion and the
the manticore?
Manticore, the head of a lion.
Mm-hmm. Tail of a scorpion.
Head and body of a lion.
Well, they had to come up with an idea. They had to have seen something like that to give them the idea for this creature. I mean, all myths and legends are based off something. So something gave them the idea. Nobody just one day decided, what if we gave it these attributes and say it, got the tail of a scorpion and yada, yada, yada.
Well, how many times do we say it? All these stories, all these things we talk about are based. There's some truth to them, whether it be a small amount or a big amount. There is truth in all these legends and folklores and all these things that we talk about.
Got a super chat from Josh Dalton. He says, "Where was this map found in Turkey, and could it have been from a Roman or a Greek origin?" I think it was originally found in Egypt, but it was returned to Turkey because it belonged to a Turkish admiral named Piri Reis. The actual origins of the map are unknown because it's believed to be a copy of a much older map. But it's hard to say for sure because there's really only a third of it still exists.
Huh.
And this right here looks like it was something else that's faded out to the point you can't tell what it is anymore. You got to remember, this is an old map. I mean, this map is, at least, 600 years old.
Yeah, going on 600.
And it may even be older than that.
Yeah.
This definitely looks like some form of Arabic or Turkish. Here's another one of those. It looks like fortifications built on the shoreline. And then, of course, we're running into animals that we just don't know what they are.
He was a pretty famous cartographer. If you could compare this to some of his other maps, you might be able to understand what some of those symbols, like the fortified coastline, or the coastline that looks like, you might be able to better understand that.
I would have to look into, see if I can find copies of other maps. I actually might reach out to the museum where this is housed and see if they can, direct me to any resources where I can compare them, or if a comparison has already been done. There's our weird folks again.
Yeah, looks like he's pooping.
Or sitting on a rock.
Or has a red butt like a baboon. That's just what I thought it was. And there's the crazy guy.
If this is a fairly high resolution copy from the map, I don't know that the writing on there is going to be clear enough for anybody to read.
There's our dancing duo.
Yeah, with a description of some sorts right above them, which makes me, it's probably notes in the margin saying what these things are.
Yeah. Probably says Uncle Fred and Aunt Beulah got drunk again last night.
There's more of these fortified looking areas.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly there's far more construction there than we were previously led to believe. And if the shoreline of this map was proven accurate by the Navy, no wonder they don't want us down there. Because there's got to be tons of ruins that they just don't want people to get access to.
Yep.
What kind of technology could be down there? What kind of artifacts could be down there that we don't even have a clue what they are? Because we can see from this map there are settlements here. I mean, right there looks like a castle. On these upper edges, there's lots of
or a dock or something.
Yeah, there are lots of signs of civilization and construction on this map.
Now, some of this map is supposedly constructed off of a map done by Columbus, right?
I think he supposedly had a copy of this map.
Yeah,
Okay.
This came out before Columbus's map, though, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So Columbus would have constructed his off of this, if that be the case. Because they're even saying this could be older than what they originally said it was.
Well, this island right here, that looks like some sort of settlement. I think this entire area down there, not only was it previously settled, it may have had its own civilization. Something we've not even heard of. E.D. Testament says, I was mistaken. They're not called no-heads. They're called Paloi. Pancho Zort says technology. Yeah, there could be technology down there they don't want us finding.
I think there's technology and a lot more that they don't want us to find. I think there's answers to a lot of questions that we have that if we had those answers.
DA, can you rotate the map?
Sure.
90 degrees clockwise.
Like that?
Yeah, and I bring it in again.
Where do you want it?
I want it on the words.
Right over here?
Yeah. Where are you? It says it's flipping creepy, not castle, it's the dead. Anyway, somebody asked you to do that, and I thought I'd give them a break and have you do that, but they haven't responded, and I can't see who asked to do that without taking my hand out from under my blanket and scrolling, and I ain't about to do that because I'm warm now.
Omadit said it's flipping creepy, not castle, it's the dead.
Okay.
3D Havoc says, because I think some of that stuff you're looking at is supposed to be in the Americas, right? I would say if we had the full map, not just a third of it, I think if we had the full map, that the full map may have been a full global map. But I think this area primarily centers around the coastline of Antarctica.
Well, the reason that I thought that that this was taken off of Columbus map is because of how my understanding is that Hispaniola and Cuba both look like they're Columbus's idea of what Japan, and I read that. I think I read it in Wikipedia, so it may not be true. But that's why I thought it was from a Columbus map, as opposed to Columbus making his map from this.
I don't know if he made his map from this or not. I'm just saying this was supposedly done before he made his. So
Yeah. But 1492 was Columbus's journey. This is right in that time frame.
Yeah.
So Piri Reis was a contemporary of Christopher Columbus. They may have known each other.
if this is not older than because remember they did say that they thought it could be a lot older than that, and
Oh yeah, they believe.
Well,
this,
yeah, but if it
map
was
a copy of a much older map,
right, that's what I'm
but
saying.
if it was Piri Reis, we know that, or Piri Reis, or however you say his name, then we know
Piri
that.
Reis.
Okay, well, Piri Reis, if it's his map, we know that until his uncle actually got an official commission, I think in 1494, they were pirates. He wasn't making maps until after 1494.
Yeah.
So if Columbus was making a map in 1492, that would predate this map. That's my argument. Whether or not it's solid, God only knows. Because most of the time I'm talking up my ass.
Well, with this being Turkish writing, and this showing what looks like civilizations, could it be possible that Antarctica might have been, without ice on it, far more recent than we're being led to believe?
I would think so, yeah. I mean, if this is a map done in his time based on his knowledge, then clearly it had ice on it.
Well, we know continental drift is a thing, but that takes thousands of years for continents to drift that far.
Right.
So are we looking at possibility of maybe a polar shift?
Wouldn't we have a record of that? I mean,
I wish Noah was in on this conversation, because him and I were just talking about some of this the other day, where he was saying that he'd read that a climatologist was saying that we're still in a modern ice age, that we're just now starting to come out of a modern ice age.
I thought we were just going into a I mean, I feel like right now I'm in a modern ice age, hence the blanket. But
Noah and I were talking about how supposedly we were still in a modern ice age and we were still coming out of it.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then the beginnings of that ice age, Antarctica might not have been covered in ice.
Well, when you think about the 1300s was definitely, what do they call that? A mini ice age or whatever. And that was only 700 years ago, close to 800. So,
so what if Antarctica was only covered in ice then?
Yeah.
That would explain this map.
Definitely.
I mean, they found numerous species of fossilized dinosaur down there, but there's no mention of them finding ruins. And of course, that's the kind of thing that would cause world governments to form a treaty to say, we're not talking about this and we're not going to let anybody explore. But that's just weird that they would do that.
Maybe they did that to give the aliens their own country on the planet.
Well, why do we still have a presence there then? Because we have permanent presence there. It's just it's through the Air Force. McMurdo.
That's our idea of an ambassador to the aliens. I don't know.
Maybe. I know other countries have permanent presence down there too.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the long stick thing?
I think it's there for measurement, for distance. I think. I don't know. But it looks like some sort of ruler.
I think you're correct.
I think it's just there to illustrate distance.
That really cool werewolf thing in the moon on there is pretty cool too.
We can almost read that writing.
Really sad is when I looked at it at first. I really thought that's what it was like. What the hell? Oh, wait.
I put my own stamp on the map. I claim this. I claim this in the name of DA Ex Machina.
Stick your flag in that land.
Worked in the Middle Ages. I don't care that you people already live here. I claim this place in the name of Spain.
That's right. We are your overlords. I know you don't like Led Zeppelin, but that's one of my favorite songs by them.
Roxanne Delgado says, "Doesn't Raytheon have a presence there?" Wouldn't surprise me.
I used to work for Raytheon.
Lori Barnes says Piri Reis began his first map in 1511 and was done in about 1513. Audacious. What is this? Oops. Where's it at? There it is. Audacious Amber says that's because they built something down there and can communicate to space with it. There's something down there. There's a reason they don't want civilians down there. I'm telling you, the more I look at that map, the more questions I have. I mean,
yeah. It's interesting. Oh.
And I think it definitely does connect to the Hollow Earth theory. I think that whatever's missing on this map probably would have shown where that entrance was. Because apparently it was big enough to fly aircraft through, according to Admiral Byrd. And from what I've read of Admiral Byrd, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who spent a lot of time telling tall tales. Seemed like a pretty serious guy. And if you're the kind of guy that makes up a lot of crap, you don't make it to Admiral in the Navy.
Nope.
Roxanne Delgado says, "Damn, I used to work for Raytheon, contracts for Raytheon and their missiles."
I didn't have anything quite that glorious of a job. They actually were one of 3 major contractors who put together a company to run the maintenance at the Rock Island Arsenal. So the company I worked for was owned by them and 2 other major contractors.
Years and years ago, like, I don't know, 25 years ago, I worked for a company called Litton, and they had a big plant here in town, and I made printed circuit boards, and Raytheon was one of our contracts. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had more to add to the whole map thing. I don't know. I mean, I've already spent every ounce of knowledge I know on it. I'm spent, guys.
Well, we certainly enjoy having your input because you look at things in ways we don't necessarily.
Yeah, I have that problem. Oh, well.
Here's a big question.
I have a small answer.
If there is a large cavern under Antarctica, what other continents do you think it connects to?
All of them.
I would agree with that.
I absolutely think it would be all of them. Maybe
I think
maybe that's how we would find Atlantis. It probably connects to Atlantis too.
probably. And I think when we start really digging in and figuring out what some of these cryptids are, I think the answers are going to come from below, not above.
Yeah. I really do believe that. I believe that from a Christian perspective. I believe that from a scientific perspective. Everything in every way points towards the caves, and caves are like the ocean. They're just not deeply explored enough, and there's too many unanswered questions inside of them, and too many caves with great big bars across them to make me not think that there are answers there we need to find.
You mean like like this?
That's the one I was thinking of. Great big bars, but not all the way to the top. What does that tell you?
Right. What are they keeping out? What are they keeping in?
I don't think they're keeping a damn thing in, but I do think they're keeping people from being food to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
At least slowing down the process.
Making it more difficult anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have to work harder to get its takeout.
That's right. No point in creating a delivery system for it. But I mean, clearly it's not keeping anything in. If it were bats, certainly not keeping them in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Eric is sending a picture of that.
Yep. I'll see if I've gotten it yet.
Yes, DoorDash does.
Well, if he sent it, I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay. You think they're keeping reptilians in?
Maybe. If they are, it's not the only thing they're keeping in.
No. What did you think about that whole thing in Miami? Speaking of,
I really haven't dug into it that much.
Yeah.
Because to me, it just seemed like one of those things that screamed, "Hey, look at me," and I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just thought it was odd that there was so many cops on that showed up. I mean, I quit counting at 100 squad cars in the picture.
Yeah, that's not a couple of kids fighting with sticks.
Mm-mm.
So what happened down there?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. The initial two people whose TikToks I watched, the one said that he and I don't know if it was a sister or a brother or a niece or a nephew. The other person was autistic. And the people were running, and, of course, they turned around and started running too. And he said that the autistic person looked back over their shoulder and said a word that meant scared. I'm scared. And he looked back, and there were big 10-foot tall beings walking through the mall. And another one said that everybody was running and hiding, and that there were these, he saw the beings. But the second one, whose story I clearly don't remember as well, because he immediately came out the next day and said, "Nah, I was pulling your leg. I didn't see that. I was just making it up." And there is video with all the cops out front, and there's something walking back and forth across, But there are people that point out that the cops are facing the wrong direction. They're not looking at the thing. If it's walking there, they should be trained on it. And it's just crazy. It's all crazy. I don't know what to
The
think.
video out of that incident has been faked.
Well, Amber's reasoning would make sense as to why there were so many cops. Called in as an active shooter. That's why
Then, every cop in 40 miles is making their way to that mall.
Yeah.
And you got that many units out there. We've already talked about what AI and what all these graphic design programs can do. When you got that many people walking around on camera, you can put anything you want.
Yeah.
Glenn Dannison says 100. That's more than the city of Miami has, I bet. Had to be Miami-Dade, Highway Patrol, and others. Literally, when you put out active shooter, every agency within range responds. You're going to have 25 agencies showing up for a call like that.
Miami PD probably has about 400 to 500 sworn road units. I would just about. Matter of fact, I bet.
Plus, you've got all the surrounding cities that would be sending people, and county and state, and even federal.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. I've seen videos. Saying that it's not it. I've seen videos that were supposed to be the originals that people are like, no, those of all of the supposed original videos are gone. All of the people who immediately posted, and apparently there were 40 or 50 of them that went up that first day, and every one of them is gone. You can't find any of those. They've all been taken down.
I stand corrected, DA. Miami PD has 3,000 sworn officers. They have 1,700 unsworn personnel. They got 3,000 sworn officers. So hundreds of drop in the bucket.
Yeah, they could send 100 units and not bat an eye.
Yeah,
they probably have 100 units assigned to that district.
Yeah, so that's very possible to have 100 marked units going to something like that in a place like Miami.
Yeah.
So clearly that wasn't as extreme as people are trying to make it out to be.
But at the same token, with those videos disappearing, it really makes me wonder why.
Yeah.
But remember, the same things happened the last time. Those videos that were on body cam and all that stuff, they disappeared after a certain amount of time. You couldn't find them out there anymore. The ones with the officers walking around talking to the people and said, "Hey, my partner just saw this." Those disappeared.
I'll tell you, the ones that freak me out are the South American alien, the face eaters.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones. There was actually a video that a guy got a hold of, and he said it very well could have been somebody was on the set of a horror movie and they were just filming it with their phone. But it's a person that clearly they're wrapped in canvas and not canvas, sheets, and they're being carried up, and they put them on the ground and they uncover, and the whole face, there's not one their face has been, their face peeler, that's what the word is, not face eater. Every ounce of skin from the forehead to the jaw is just gone. It's just a skeletal face. So those are the ones and those are going on at the same time as the Vegas thing. And
here's the picture that Eric sent me.
It looks a lot like that thing too.
Sure does. And to me, it always makes these incidents far more compelling when videos disappearing.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that is always the most that always makes me lift a brow is when, oh, wait a minute, I can't even see the original videos now.
Right.
Why?
If they're making the videos disappear, they're hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
The question is what?
And that's I think the big question. That's the only thing that really has made a lot of people continue to hold on to it and say what is going on is the fact that all of the videos that were uploaded of course we live in the 21st century and people are going to upload to TikTok before they call the cops. And within 24 hours, every one of them was gone. You couldn't find the originals of anybody in the mall with a camera.
And that in and of itself, just that happening is suspect. Because for videos to just disappear,
Yeah.
especially that many, you don't make that many videos disappear without somebody with a lot of clout getting involved.
Right.
Because if one of the Miami cops walked up and told one of those kids, you need to take that video down. No.
Yeah.
Give me a court order.
And that's the thing, there's still all of the video from outside the mall. All of that's still available. You can still see all the cops out there and all the lights and everything outside the mall is still available. But anything that's been put up since that first day that's inside the mall has already been proven to be fake. And all of the videos that were put up the first day are gone. So I don't know what to think about it. I honestly don't have. It's one of those things that's going to hang out there in I don't know land until I have evidence of something one way or the other.
Well, we've got the same level of government involvement, and I would call it straight out overreach, right there with Antarctica. Mm-hmm. Why are we stressed? Why are we not allowed to know what's going on down there? Why are we not allowed to have private investigation teams going down there? Why is it by treaty forbidden for anybody to colonize or explore it?
Yeah, interestingly, Mr. Beast, I think he is now the biggest YouTuber out there. Even when he did a video last summer from Antarctica, they were very limited on the areas they could go to, and they had to be checking in, and they were closely watched while they were doing it. And so even if you can get on the continent, you still have constant monitoring. And right. The argument is, well, they'd freeze to death if we didn't watch them. Well, they're going to freeze to death if you do watch them.
My thing
watching them doesn't keep them warm.
I understand the danger.
Yeah.
The danger can be mitigated. We've got permanent presence down there. We've got ice stations down there. We've got McMurdo Station down there. We've got people that know how to live down there. So it's not like they couldn't outfit an Arctic team and a full Arctic expedition and survive it, because they did it. What was it? Roald Amundsen, who found the South Pole. Mm-hmm. They did it with 1800s technology. Quite a few of those guys on that expedition died, and I think every one of them lost fingers and toes to frostbite, but they did it with technology in the 1800s. What's to stop us from being able to explore it today? Yeah, it's not that we don't have the technology.
I think it's just one of those things that they're going to keep it as far or as long as they can till something happens and they just can't keep it anymore. Because I think it's something really big, and I think it'll shake the foundations of what most normal people. That I've thought that way for a while now, that there's just something there that is just so monumental that most people will be like finding out pro wrestling's real.
Well, it's true. Anyone can go there, and it does cost a fortune, but going there isn't quite the same as being able to explore it. You're limited to
Right.
the areas you can go
They
to.
approve.
Right.
They're like, sure, come on in. You can stay in this little 5x5 room here, and you can go out this little 12x12 yard, but that's as far as you can go.
Yeah.
Now, your approved guide will take you to these areas.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the blindfolds.
That's right.
Totally agree. Oh, and you're only limited. You only have 16 hours to do it. So good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd the way they can make you think that, oh yeah, no, I can do that. But really you're not being given free reign whatsoever.
Right.
No. They're not going to let you go in there and just, all right, see you, have fun, go wherever you want to go.
See you in 6 weeks.
Yeah. In a coffin. Pay no attention to the lizard man over there. I'm agree with you there, Glenn. It is way too cold for me too. Clearly, I'm sitting in Tennessee where the temperature is 56 degrees right now, and I'm wrapped in a blanket. Does that tell you how much I love Antarctica?
Mrs. Moon said she applied for a job working on computers back in 1980 in Antarctica. That would have been a cool job.
Yeah.
I actually considered trying to get a civilian contractor job at McMurdo back before I got married. But that was a long time ago.
My younger son is a civilian contractor. And don't ask me what he does. I tell people he shoots down aliens because I have no idea.
Miss Lene sent me a depiction of the Mapinguari. You guys want to see it?
Mm-hmm.
This is an artist's depiction of the Mapinguari. I can see certain similarities here. What about you guys?
Oh my goodness.
That's kind of horrifying.
Yeah, it is.
I would not want to run into that in the woods.
What did I say? Mouth with the abdomen.
How would that work?
Well, it sure does make a shortcut.
Grotesquely.
Corey Cole said the Rockefellers were one of the investors for Operation High Jump.
Oh, look at that. Some of the elites.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Omid says, DA, count your blessings. You didn't get the job. Back in 1991, I was fresh out of the Army. Didn't have any attachments. I was just looking to go away. I'd even considered like taking a land grant up in Alaska and just disappearing into the hinterlands. I wanted to be so far away from people that I just didn't care. And I ended up meeting my wife, and we got married, and here I am. But yeah, in 1991, I was.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how a man gets a brain.
I wanted to get away from everyone and everything. I wanted to just disappear. E.D. Testament says, yeah, they funded the whole thing and they have their own little area down there. Not surprised. Also, Operation High Jump, right at the end of World War II. Right about the time we started having major increases in technology.
Yeah.
So what if those massive advances in technology we've got didn't come from without, they came from within? What if they were older technologies from the civilization that occupied Antarctica before it was covered with ice? Homadit says, my uncle did. He went, quote unquote, insane, lives in a red camper, tinfoil hat now. You know, that wasn't so much it. It wasn't that I was, paranoid and didn't want the government spying on me or anything like that. I just had it with civilization pretty much. I just wanted to go away. Glenn says you would have met up with those nasty tempered Alaska Bigfoot. Oh, I didn't say I was going unarmed. Corey Cole says the hole going into the inner Earth isn't frozen. I don't think it is. I think it is still an active egress or ingress. Yeah, because Admiral Byrd mentioned flying into it.
Wow.
And there's no way Admiral Byrd could have, in the technologies of that day, in the 1940s and 50s, there's no way they had a plane that could fly from pole to pole. So he had no way of knowing that the Earth was hollow and there was another entrance at the North Pole. There might be another entrance at the North Pole, but he didn't have the range on that aircraft to be able to fly the length of the planet. So he basically dipped his toe in the pond and goes, hey, this goes all the way through to the other side, then bailed back out.
That's kind of interesting.
And I don't think that the Earth is hollow like an egg. I think it is more like what we were saying, like a network of massive caverns. And we know bioluminescence is a thing, so they could have light down there. They could have their own ecosystems down there. There's that massive cave they found. What was it, in Indonesia or in Vietnam? That cave is so big it has its own ecosystem.
Oh wait, yeah, I think that's Vietnam, isn't it? That's really a cool cave. I'd like to go in there.
And if this cave was, like Robbie was saying, 100 miles from floor to ceiling, and God knows how far across, even someone in an aircraft would have been like, holy crap, this thing goes on forever.
Swiss cheese caverns. Guys.
Kay Bauer says, DA, some years ago, a guy said he was going to fly a drone big enough he could ride on. It was on Art Bell, Dallas Bailey, I think it was. There was something, I believe it was in Popular Mechanics not too long ago, of people building personal conveyances, like a car, but built on drone technology. It had 4 little fans and just big enough for one person. And that thing could get into some really tight spaces. And if they were showing the plans of that publicly, it means somebody's built them.
There's a couple of YouTubers, Colin Furs and Jay Laser, who have built. Colin built a hover bike with 2 fans. It's shape of a motorcycle, got 2 fans. He got on it, built it, rode it, and then Jay Laser built more of a true drone with like in a box shape, and he had the controls like an actual drone controller built up. But he got up and flew, and he flew out over a lake and all kinds of stuff. So that technology is here. It's just a matter of perfecting it.
I think that technology has been here for a long time. I think it's just now getting to where it's coming into civilian hands. But remember the movie The Road Warrior? How long ago that movie was made? Do you remember the guy with the gyrocopter?
Yep.
That was 40 years ago, 50 years ago when they made that movie. It was in the 80s, early 80s?
Yep, 82, I think.
So gyrocopters were a thing then, and drone technology wasn't even heard of then. So if you were capable of putting 2 people in the air on a little bitty gyrocopter in, say, 1982, the sky's the limit on what they could do now.
Well, just think about the quote unquote jet suits, how far they've come. That in the public eye, I know in behind the scenes military, I know it's probably a lot, but in what you can see in the public eye, I mean, look at the technology just in those electric fans, those electric motors. I know there's an acronym for them, but I can't think of what it is right now. But there again, there's YouTubers that are making these suits and actually doing unassisted flights with these things.
So if that's just some guys with a lot of money and access to technology, what are major corporations with billions of dollars of research assets? What have they already got that we don't have no idea?
Mm-hmm.
For every bit of technology that our government is willing to admit it's got, it has technology hidden that is generations ahead of what they're willing to admit.
Yeah, I mean, how many decades ago did we first see the videos of the soldier kind of vanishing as he was climbing out of the tank? And now they're just now willing to admit that they, not just now, but in the last 10 years, they started to admit that, that wasn't faked.
Right.
So,
well, I went to a lecture one time, was put on by an Air Force pilot. He was a pilot who flew the SR-71. And he was given a lecture and talked about, the advanced technologies. This was up at the University of Missouri at Rolla. It was when I was in high school. And after the lecture was over, a bunch of us went up and were talking to the guy and asking him about stuff, because I was really interested in aerospace technology. So we're asking him questions. And the people have been asking him a lot of different questions. And I asked him, I said, so how fast is the SR-71 really? And he without missing a beat, he goes, well, I can tell you she'll fly in excess of Mach 3.
mm-hmm.
He gave me an honest answer, then backpedaled. Like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to admit that. He said in excess of Mach 7.
Could that basically crush you?
Yeah, that's why you got to wear flight suits. They've got to wear pressurized suits like astronauts do. They don't wear regular flight suits like normal pilots. They basically go out with pressurized spacesuits.
Wow. Huh.
Dr. 45120 says gyrocopters have been used since approximately the 1930s. Yeah, they're supposedly FDR had one, supposedly.
I keep thinking of Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah, I do too. But yeah, that technology is not new. So if we've had the ability for serviceable light aircraft using what's essentially drone technology, because those gyrocopters are not much more than a hover fan. They're not really helicopters. They're a hover fan and a push fan. If we had technology like that in the 1930s, how far is that technology advanced? And if YouTubers with just more money than sense and a lot of time on their hands and access to technology are building essentially flyable drones, what has the government built? Or what have private corporations built?
Yeah.
Glenn Dennison says, when I was a kid, I thought we'd have flying cars by now in domed cities.
Damn
we
the
may.
Jetsons.
We may.
I thought we'd all have our own jetpacks.
I'm still waiting for my car that folds up in my briefcase on the escalator that takes me into my office. Or the whatever.
I just want a jetpack.
So
That would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
According to the James Bond and $6 Million Man, we should already have them.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Well, folks, we could go much deeper down this rabbit hole. When we start getting out the tinfoil hats and talking about what we think the government's got, I think a lot of this technology, and this is just me, I think a lot of this technology is coming from discoveries in Antarctica. I think that why we've had such a sudden lurch of advanced technology post World War II was them discovering things that was from a civilization that existed here. I'm not saying there's not aliens. I firmly believe there's aliens, but I think we're discovering that there was a civilization here long before ours that had technology that blew ours away. And In some of the deserts, they found evidence of nuclear explosions, crystallized sand. It takes a lot of heat to do that. And there's a lot more. There's a lot more about the history of the world that we'll probably never know. At least the government doesn't want us to know. So could it be that our advanced technologies post World War II came from, an ancient race here on Earth? Yeah, I think it very well could be. I actually think it's more likely. Sorry about that. Had sneeze.
Bless you. I'm contagious still.
Oh, sorry, lost my train of thought there. The Piri Reis Map is just the tip of the iceberg. That really is just a glimpse into a world we're not supposed to even know about. The possibility of Antarctica without ice, and depictions of civilizations there, of settlements, of castles. What was there? What was there before the ice? What was there that the governments of the world know about that they're not telling us? What else is this? Does this connect to? Is the world really hollow, or is it again like Miss Naomi was saying, honeycombed with passageways? I think the answer is right below our feet. I think some of these ancient technologies exist because of prior civilizations, and I think there's a network of massive passageways underneath the planet that our government either already knows about or is afraid of. Because the last thing they want us to do is to learn about that stuff.
The world is at your feet, with it all the answers.
Exactly.
I agree.
Sorry about that.
I told you I'm contagious.
Since Christmas, I've had this lingering cough that will not go away.
RSV.
Could be.
That's what I think I have.
I think that's what I had the week of Christmas. I mean, I was in rough shape. Are you drinking plenty of juice?
Oh yeah. Plus I'm drinking my hippie shake. And it knocks everything out.
Well, you keep drinking it and you stay warm.
That's the thing I can't seem to do. I can't get warm. That, and of course I can't move with that. You heard me. I sound like a steamship or something.
That's what happened when I walk too much or push myself too far. I got that fluid built up around my lungs, and I bought a pulse oximeter to test my oxygen levels, and it will. I'll start moving around and it'll drop rapidly. Like normally, if I'm just sitting still, it'll low 90s, but I start moving around, that pulse ox will drop into the upper 70s and nothing flat, and that's when I'm struggling for air.
Yeah.
So hopefully, keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully, me and my cardiologist will have a plan of attack next Wednesday, and I'll know more then. Folks, we won't have a show this coming Saturday. My mother-in-law is having to move out of her duplex, and I'm going to be spending the weekend helping her pack and move. I'm voluntold to drive the U-Haul, so I'll be helping her get her stuff boxed up and moved out of her apartment, so her duplex. So that's pretty much going to take us all weekend. Unfortunately, we won't have a show on Saturday night, but we'll be back again next Wednesday. I was talking to Matt Imsch the other day, and he's still kind of having a rough time dealing with that surgery. So I'm going to give him some time to recover before we do get him back on the show. But that is coming. For those of you guys that were with us for the Ghostbusters show with Eddie, we're going to be getting Eddie back real soon too. And I want to get MK Davis back because I think we were really just kind of starting to get into some interesting topics when we had him on the last time. We were talking about the Mapinguari possibly being a ground sloth, and that could very well explain why the Honey Island swamp monster has 3 toes. So,
yeah. Thanks for the well wishes.
Danton Rimfist says hippie shake sounds like both a drink and a dance.
It's got a lot of herbs and spices in it. And
Colonel Sanders' 11 herbs and spices.
Pretty much.
One of my buddies, his last name's Forrester, when we worked for Greene County together, he printed out a label and stuck it on his pepper spray. And our sheriff's name was Arnott. And the label said Colonel Arnott's blend of a secret blend of herbs and spices. He got chewed out and told to take that off his can. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
What was that? A comment about Stargate. Don Donaldson said Stargate touched on finding humans in Antarctica. That was the first run of humans as we know them. You know, it could be. I mean, were there? You know, we know that Neanderthal and Denisovans and Heidelbergensis all existed, but was there a species of Homo sapien prior to now, prior to what we know? Don Donaldson says zinc for colds.
Yeah. And yes, they are all legal. I actually am allergic to certain herbs that other people enjoy. Yeah. The only person I know who's actually allergic to it.
My buddy Shane, love that guy to death, but that dude was crazy. When we worked at the sheriff's department together, I'm not going to say his last name because he still works for the sheriff's department. When he would get a cold, like get really congested, he would go and get like a big, you couldn't use styrofoam because it would melt it. Believe it or not, pepper spray, the stuff we carried was made by Fox Labs. It was 5.3 million Scoville heat units. It would melt the bottom out of a styrofoam cup like this. You just spray it in there, it would just dissolve it. So he would get like a paper cup or a metal cup and spray that Fox into that cup and then hold it up over his nose and just breathe it in. He would break colds up all the time doing that. I'm like, you are out of your dang mind. E.D. Testament says there's scientists talking about the lost Atlantis, also known as the Anunnaki or in Antarctica. Hey, that makes a lot of sense. That sounds like the subject for another show. Miss Lene says, Naomi, if you rub Vicks or mentholatum ointment on your feet, it will help open up your lungs, but I don't know how, but it works.
I do it every night. It's the only way I can sleep. And I have the vaporizer going, and I'm just this worn out old lady in the house alone. I need a cat, and I'll be perfect.
Speaking of being in the house alone, have you had any more knocking on your walls?
Oh my gosh, something hit the side of the house last night so hard I sat up in bed and screamed. I mean, it was a shake the bed bang. And I almost came over and I forgot all about it now. I'm just getting so used to them. Almost came over to the computer and sent you a message. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, but I figured, well, oh, were you really?
Yeah, I was up.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. It felt like it cracked the side of the house.
You didn't go outside and look at it today,
Not until it's daylight. When I looked at it in daylight and I didn't see any damage. That's what I don't understand. You'd think that I'd have dents all over the vinyl siding, but I don't. But man, so we have oh heck, it's a nut tree, not walnuts, but another nut tree, and they drop on the roof all the time, you know. Mm-hmm. and they can be loud, but this was way louder than that. Scared me to death. So it was get up and see what it was doing it, or throw the blankets over my head, and I opted for the blankets.
Well, I don't blame you. Yeah. Well, I don't care what time of the day or night it is. If something like that happens, you want to text me. If I'm awake, I'll answer.
My house is about 30 years old, Mrs. Moon. Thank you. Not a horse chestnut either, but that's what I started to say. It's a hickory tree. Hickory nuts.
Kay Bowers wants to know when the next Wild Hunt book will be coming. I've got a couple other books in the works right now, but it should hopefully be done by spring. if I can get things going between me being in the hospital and dealing with these respiratory issues with, dealing with the cardiologist and stress. I have not been writing as much as I would like. I've been pretty aggravated with myself. But the last 4 or 5 months have been pretty rough. And I apologize that I wanted to get more writing out. But I've had a lot, not only on my mind, but a lot going on. So I apologize. I really really wanted to get a lot more writing out than I've gotten out. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get that fixed soon. And hopefully things will be back to abnormal as they get for me. So I appreciate y'all's prayers and just, kind of keep Miss Naoma and all of us in your thoughts and prayers, because a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
Jimmy G says Wild Hunt 1944. Well, since Doc isn't here, how about we hear from little Doc about the first of our what's the word?
Sponsors.
Sponsors. Affiliates. Affiliates. That's the word I was looking for.
Affiliates.
Here we go. Everybody hears from Mr. Doc himself.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
And folks, if y'all go to Dark Angel Medical, make sure to use discount code CRYPTID25 for 25% off your entire order. And his classes are both HSA and FSLA certified. So if you got some extra points laying around and your agency doesn't mind, those are great courses for you to have. And you can take some of his classes for free on the Dark Angel Medical YouTube page. So, best kits in the business. What Doc calls package birthdays in a bag. So, yeah, I definitely recommend getting a med kit and learning how to use it. Robbie, you want to tell us a little bit about Scallywag Tactical?
Yep, but first, JJ Blake is asking where to get the books.
Oh, you can get all the books at daroberts.net. They're also all available on Amazon. If you like audio books, you can check out some of the ones that have already been narrated by Cameron Buckner from Dixie Cryptids. That's over on the Dixie Cryptid channel. Miss Naoma has narrated several of my short stories. Those are also available on the Dixie Cryptid channel, and I hope you guys will check those out. Let me see if I can post those links real fast, unless somebody's beat me to it. If you want to listen to the audios, you can listen to them for free. Not all of them are currently available in audio. We are working on getting out more. But if you want to check out all of the books, and you are wanting to pick up copies of the books just to read, I just posted the link in the chat. Go to daroberts.net, and you can get all of the books there in print and in Kindle format. All right, Robbie, you want to tell us a little bit about Scallywag?
Yep. Scallywag Tactical is another one of our affiliates. If you've read the books, you've seen the Jolly Roger, the Jolly Roger, the Privateer, the Bounty, the Gunner's Mate, the Boarding Axe. You've seen or read about all those blades that the team uses. They're in the books for a reason, just like, we believe in Doc's product. Craig makes some of the best knives that you're gonna find. You can't go out and pay $300, $400, $500 for some of these Gerber or Kershaw or Spyderco and get any better blade than you're going to get with these that you're going to pay probably a third for. These are still not cheap, but they're nowhere near the price of like a Spyderco or something like that. That's the new Karambit that they got out. I've got that. That's on my body armor that I wear to work every day. Carry my Orca in my uniform pocket. This is my shop knife that goes to the shop with me. And this is my dress up knife that goes when I go to
His
just
fancy
go out.
go to meeting knife.
My fancy go to meeting knife. I've got my gunner's mate on my go bag in my truck. I've got my dew claw strapped to my plate carrier. It's pretty much, you know, he's even got knives for the kitchen. And DA said those are some of the best kitchen knives he's ever had.
Yeah, those are the best kitchen knives I've ever owned.
So the point is, you're going to find something that you like on that website. So go to the website, look around. When you go to check out, if you find, because you're going to find something that you like and something that you want, hit code DA Roberts 10 at the checkout and get yourself an extra 10% off. But make sure you go get yourself a Dark Angel medical kit first, because you're probably going to be like me and DA and be stupid and cut yourself, maybe not on air like we did, but you're probably going to cut yourself because these knives are sharp. They will cut you 3 ways: long, deep, and
continuous.
So we go check them out. Tell them we sent you. Code DA Roberts 10 checkout. Get yourself an extra 10% off. And that's all I got to say about that.
And our other affiliate is brockblades.com. And yeah, I know you're thinking 2 different knife companies, but they're like night and day. Whereas the Scallywag tactical blades are all fantastic blades, but they are mass produced. If you get 2 of the gunner's mates, they're going to be just alike. But no 2 blades from Ken Brock are identical. These are all hand forged in the shop behind his house. Ken's a retired cop, spent his whole adult career in law enforcement, and he makes some fantastic blades. And every one of them's a work of art. I mean, no two are even remotely alike. You can choose blade style, you can choose handle style, and every one of them are hand forged. So again, no 2 will even if you chose the exact same options, there'll be differences in the 2 knives. So you know, they are works of art. And if you know somebody that works in law enforcement, or as a first responder, or as a hunter, or a fisherman, or veteran, the gift of a custom knife is something that'll be cherished for a long time. And these are not just meant to be set on a shelf and looked at. They're not just there to look pretty. These are all functional blades. They are definitely made to take the punishment. So check out brockblades.com. You can custom order any design you like, or you can choose some existing blades that are available currently through the website. Again, that website is brockblades.com. So check them out, and if you find something you like, use discount code Cryptid10 at checkout. Or if you order a custom blade, make sure that you mention that you heard about it here at DA Ex Machina, and he'll make sure you get your 10% off your entire order as well from the custom order. So definitely check out brockblades.com, and you will not be sorry. Miss Lene, who just left, recently posted pictures of the one she bought, and she seems to be very happy with them. And I love mine. I take mine with me all the time. So again, check out brockblades.com. Use discount code Cryptid10. Go to scallywagtactical.com. Use discount code DA Roberts 10, or head over to darkangelmedical.com and use discount code Cryptid25. I think we're losing Miss Naomi. She looks like she's about to go to sleep.
I'm just uncomfortable.
Miss Naomi, why don't you tell us where we can find your work at?
Well, you can find me on YouTube under Neoma Finn Open to Doubt, because it's okay to doubt so long as you ask the questions. You can find me on just about any podcast streaming service there is, because I have lots of podcasts up. And in fact, I recently started a new podcast with my son, Moth and Finn. We call it Snark Fin Soup. We've only got 2 up because Mommy got sick. And Mommy hadn't been feeling well enough to sit. Snark Fin Soup, yeah. Apparently I'm Queen Snark. So
I was once referred to as the Sultan of Smarm. And I thought that was hilarious.
I actually kind of like being called Snarky. Kind of fits me. But Anyway, and I do have a book out and another one finished that I have not published yet because it's impossible to edit your own work. And at least it is for me. I'm not very good at it. And I guess that's about it. Sorry. I can't think of anything else right now.
You are perfectly fine. Have you used Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid?
Yeah.
I like Grammarly better than Pro Writing Aid. I've tried the professional version of both. The professional version of the pro version of Grammarly does a really good job. I highly recommend it for your own personal edits. Of course, when you're done with that, then you can send it off to your alpha team or your editors.
Yeah,
and let them tear into it. But that thing makes me be a better writer, as it makes me look for things like passive voice and things that I would not normally catch on my own. Pro Writing Aid does a pretty good job, but it's a resource eater. Whenever I would get a big document, Pro Writing Aid is okay if you're only editing a chapter at a time.
Yeah.
But if you write like I do, you keep the whole thing in one big document. No, it has fits once it gets above about 40 pages.
Wow.
It just bogs your system down. Grammarly, not that issue. So I definitely prefer Grammarly.
Cool.
Robbie, tell us about your channel. I know it's back up and running, isn't it?
Yep. Tyler's finishing up the last few edits on we got the return show. I'm just waiting for the Taylor to get Taylor had a wreck the other night, so she's got other things on her mind.
She's okay.
Other than just putting out a piece of artwork for Dad's YouTube channel, but just waiting on that. We got 3 shows under the return that are coming out. We got one that's just titled The Return Show, where we just kind of talked about a few things here and there, talked about coming back, and just talked about us being back in the some of the direction we wanted to go. Then the next show is going to be on vampires, which we kind of went and just kind of compared like what the true legends are as compared to what Hollywood has put out there. And then the one we just recorded the other night, we talked about my trip to Missouri and our encounters and things we saw when we were up there, or when I was up there. So they start looking for them again. As soon as Taylor gets me the art, I'll put the first one back out, and I'll set the next ones to come up the following weeks. The channel, JJ, is called What's Really Out There. You can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio. We've got, 50-something, or close to 50-something episodes already, DA, I think.
Something like that.
Before we had to take a little break. So you got plenty of stuff to listen to if you want to check it out before you have to worry about these next few coming out. We used to joke on here. Says, I take it JJ's a new face. We called it Ex MachiNation Light, because the same stuff we talk about here, we kind of do a short, Reader's Digest version of most of the shows over there. But we do hit a few different things and some things that we haven't talked about over here yet. So, if you like this channel, though, you'll probably like that. Me and my buddy Johnny. Miss Naomi's even listened to a couple of episodes and talked about or made comments about it, I believe.
So, I have.
That was a big honor.
Yeah. Robbie, king of the bullshit.
I try to give you a compliment, Miss Naomi, and you go.
I love you, Robbie.
I love you too, Miss Naomi.
Oh.
There's one other thing I would like to mention before we start winding down, and that's the 22 a day foundation. For those of you who know me, know I'm very passionate about this. And Nathan Finn, who is in the audience tonight, him and I were just chatting before the show. This came into play for him today. I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but just keep these folks in your prayers. With any luck, Nathan was able to make it 21 today, not 22. We lose 22 veterans a day on average to suicide. And we also lose first responders to the same thing, but 22 a day is entirely too many. We need to see that down to 0 a day. The resources are there. Some of these guys just are, and I know, and this was in my case, when I got hurt to deal with my PTSD, I didn't want to reach out. I felt like it made me weak to reach out for help. It doesn't make you weak to want to get help. It's, if you were in a firefight and you needed another soldier, you'd call for backup. If you needed someone to jump out on that foxhole and help you fight, you would. This is just another fight. And so if you need help, call your buddy, call your battle, call anyone.
Just call.
Just call. 22-Day Foundation and the Till Valhalla Project are a couple of things I'm 100% behind. A lot of these bigger charities, and I won't name any of them, we all know who they are. If you donate $100 to them, less than $1 generally gets to the veterans. Most of it goes to pay salaries. Till Valhalla Project is not like that. It is run by veterans who want to help veterans. And on average, about 90% of every dollar you give goes right back to the veterans. And they're buying service animals. They're helping pay for therapy. They are getting plaques to families of fallen soldiers. The Till Valhalla Project is really going above and beyond to try to help veterans in every way they can. Providing counseling, providing assistance where needed. These folks really deserve our support. And if you know anybody that's a first responder, is a veteran, active duty or otherwise, whether they were even in the reserves or National Guard, if they've been in that uniform and been in the thick of things, they've probably seen things that are very difficult for them to process. Same thing happens with first responders. There are things that we are just not meant to see, and these folks deal with it all the time. I know. As a first responder, as an officer, you don't forget some of the things you've seen. I mean, as a corrections officer, I've walked into cells covered with blood, just dripping with blood. As an officer, I've helped carry bodies. I've been to accident scenes where there were multiple fatalities. I've seen some pretty horrific stuff, and Robbie's been doing this for longer than I did, and so I know he's got stories. Every first responder does. We've all seen and experienced things that the human brain was just not meant to deal with, and it weighs on everyone. So if you need someone to talk to, reach out. If you don't have anybody to reach out to, reach out to us. The contact information for the show is up. I would be happy to listen, but reach out to somebody, because 22 a day is 22 too many. And if you go to the Till Valhalla Project, their webpage, they are selling these new bracelets, say 22 a day on it. These are the paracord bracelets. It's an awesome bracelet. I picked that up, and those are on special right now. And every bit of that goes right back into veterans charities. This is the one I wore for the longest time. Let me see if I can find it. Well, I can't find that one. But this was one of my officer down bands. But I had one that was a metal one like this. It said 22 a day on it. And I've given a few of those to the veterans, friends of mine, as gifts. But this new paracord one is just high quality. And it's a great reminder. I wear it every day. Just a great reminder to look at that and remember our fellow veterans, our fellow first responders, and just to be there for the people you can. And like with me and Robbie and Doc and Steve, that 2 a.m. "Hey fucker, are you awake?" text. Sometimes that's That's what gets you through the day. Because we worry about each other. And these idiots all know I've been dealing with a lot of health issues, so I get a lot of those random texts like, "Hey, I'll get called all kinds of crap." And that's just the way we are. I mean, if you're a veteran or a first responder, "Hey, dickhead" is not calling somebody just being a jerk. That's just how you greet each other sometimes. And I get texts like that at random times, like, "Hey, you breathing okay?" Or, "Hey, do I need to make a drive out there and kick your ass?" That kind of thing. So I get checked on a lot, and I appreciate each and every one of them. But folks, there's a lot of folks out there that are struggling with things that they've seen, things that they've experienced. Reach out to those first responders and those veteran friends of yours, because that one text from you, even if it's just, "Hey, I was thinking about you, let's go get coffee," that might be what pulls them back off the edge that day. And sometimes you don't have to do anything but just sit there and listen. Maybe they don't want to talk. Maybe they just want somebody to have a drink with them and just sit there. Because sometimes it takes a lot for someone that's really dealing with this to actually open up and talk. But just letting them know you're there, just being there, means the world. Maybe they won't tell you a thing. Maybe they'll take comfort in you just being there. But be there. Let them know. Reach out to them. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care about them. Because again, 22 a day is 22 too many. So I'll close out the show with a toast. We've been doing that for a bit now, and I'm really kind of happy with that. I might change the toast up from time to time, because this is a great toast, but there are a lot of others, old Irish toasts that are certainly as appropriate. But this is from a song called "The Parting Glass," and it's played in Irish pubs all over the world at the end of the day when people are lifting their last glass and going home. But when you read the lyrics, it's really talking about more than that. It's talking about lifting a glass that final time for those who can't lift the glass anymore. And I've put a lot of friends away under folded flags. And again, 22 is 22 too many. So hope you all will join me. Whatever you've got to hand, you can raise a glass with. For me tonight, it's just Powerade. I mean, I'm not drinking anything heavy. But whatever you've got a glass of, lift your glass. And we're going to close out the show with his final toast. "But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all." Good night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DA Ex Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.